Have you ever noticed how your project gets harder and harder to change over time? That's not bad luck, that's bad architecture. And in this video, I will show you the 4 dimensions of software architecture that help you build systems that survive change and not collapse under it. First dimension, architectural characteristics. Before you start making fundamental decisions about your code base that will have a huge impact on you for a long time, you must start by asking yourself, what do I even need this architecture to help me achieve? For example, is worrying about your app supporting a huge number of users really important for you? You might be working on a software for a very small niche of business, and supporting millions of users doesn't really apply to your software. This is called scalability, and it is an architectural characteristic. Another one is called availability, which is how important it is for your app to stay up with no downtime. In other words, how much money does your business lose for each minute the app is down? And the last example is something most developers obsess about without really validating that they need it, which is performance. How important is it for your app to complete a certain type of request in a very specific and limited time? And definitely there are other types of characteristics such as extensibility, interoperability, agility, fault tolerance, etc. Second dimension, architectural decisions. After defining the architectural characteristics that are important for you, you can now take the architectural decisions in your app. But what are these? These are the choices that you make about the structural aspects of your system that have long-term and significant implications. For example, you might decide that the user interface can't communicate directly with the database layer. It has to go through an intermediate layer to retrieve and update data. Another example is the choice of the database you want to use. Let's say you're working on a software where the relationships between the data is more important than the data itself, such as a social network, for example. In this case, using a graph database is a much better decision than using a normal relational database, for example. Third dimension, logical components. I believe this is the hardest and one of the most important parts of the software architecture. After you have chosen the architectural characteristics and took some initial decisions, now it's time to actually decide how are you going to organize the code. What are the directories, subdirectories, and where does each class belong? Let's say you're creating a software for an e-commerce website. You might have different logical components, such as product catalog for browsing the products, searching and filtering, shopping cart, adding and removing items, calculating totals, ordering and checkout, placing orders, validating address, applying discounts, payments and billing, charging cards, handling refunds, invoices, and the list can go on and on. This is usually translated into your application as directories and subdirectories. Fourth and final dimension, architectural styles. Whenever you hear someone talking about software architecture, including me, you hear them talk about this. They mention styles such as traditional layered architecture, hexagonal architecture, clean architecture, microservices, event-driven, etc. What you must know here is that every style has its own advantages and disadvantages. For example, the microservices architectural style is known for the high agility, which is responding to change quickly, while the event-driven architecture, for example, is highly scalable, very fast, and responsive. And that's why it's important for you to decide what architectural characteristics are most important to you first. This will help you choose the correct architectural style. This decision is important because you can't keep changing your mind midway. Changing the architectural style costs a lot of time and effort. Now you understand all the 4 dimensions of software architecture, and you should think of all the 4 dimensions when building any system. If you would like more valuable content like this, you can subscribe to my free email list in the description below. It's totally free and you can unsubscribe at any time.